Do you need to go get swabbed?
I don't want to be here.
No, it's not that. I donated some blood yesterday and didn't have a good outcome.
Oh, no.
Hours after that. I always donate blood, though, but I'm not
You need to
quite
drink orange juice.
rejuvenated. I've had my juice, I've had some fruit, but I'm just like, I'm fading away.
And protein.
Yeah, I didn't eat that.
Are we muted?
Well, I'll move the meeting along for you.
Please and thank you.
Oh. Joe isn't here, so I think I'm gonna have Otis fill in as a sub real quick. Otis, do you mind subbing real quick as a member?
No, I thought you said we leave.
Anyhow, Joe.
Bought you lunch?
All right, I think you said that. I don't want to break protocol.
I am, well, I apologize. We ran a little, we're a little delayed from the first two, committee meetings that took place, so I'm confident Valerie and I will make up time. So I want to call the HR committee meeting of August 17th, to order.
Director Curry? Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just doing a speech.
Sorry.
But yeah, in the interest of, time, let's go ahead and ask Madam Secretary to call roll.
Thank you. Director Curry?
Present.
Director Robinson?
Present.
Director Sorrell?
Present.
Serving as a substitute member, Director Story?
Present. Present.
And Chair Garza?
Present. Thank you. And I would like to entertain a motion to allow Directors Curry and Sorrell to remotely participate in the meeting as a voting member. Can I have a motion, please?
So move.
Thank you. Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, if not, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you. Any opposed? Okay, so that motion carries. The next regular meeting of the Human Resources Committee is scheduled for Thursday, November 9th at 12 p.m. Wow, it seems like a long time away. It's like fall. If November 9th at noon. And, so is anyone registered to provide in-person or virtual oral testimony or submitted written testimony to be included into the record?
No, we did not receive any registrations nor any written testimony.
Okay, so then I would like to introduce Ms. Valerie Amos, who serves as the Systems Chief Human Resources Officer, to go over this period's report.
Great. Thank you so much and good afternoon. This is Valerie Amos, Chief Human Resources Officer. The slide before you is regarding our impact to hiring. From December 1st, 2022 through July 31st, 2023. This slide represents the number of filled positions. We extended 1,201 offers. 955 of those were filled. That number represents both internal and external. And to the right, 636 of the 955 represents the external number. So at this moment, we are 181 individuals in terms of our separations versus our external hires. We have a net gain of 181 for this fiscal year. This number also represents 80% of our acceptance ratio, which is a very positive thing. We have 185 individuals who have declined us, and a number of those reasons, you know, again, are competitive salaries from their existing companies. Sometimes reasons are not provided to us. Some of the reasons have been shift and schedule challenges, but most importantly, we still are at a very healthy offer ratio in terms of acceptances. Our time to fill for overall, so this is internal and external, represents 91 days. Our target is 90 days as we are public, you know, governmental entities. So this is very much on par with what we are seeing in that area. Next slide, please. So this slide represents another depiction of individuals who have started or who have moved into their position. The last slide represented 955 filled positions. Of that 955, 898 of those have started, whether they were external or internal into the position. And as you can see, year over year, again, this represents December 1st, 2022 through July 31st, 2023. We are exceeding the hiring based on these other years. So below is our external number, 567 of that 636 that you've seen on the previous slide have started with us. So we are continuing to not only exceed the number of offers, the offers accepted, as well as the individuals who have started. And so we are off to a really good midpoint throughout the year. Next slide, please.
Well, and I just want to comment, if I could, Valerie, that I think I've finished up my third year as a board member, but I know that this has been a topic of great discussion and focus. And yeah, I want to publicly say that that's excellent work by the team to achieve these kinds of outcomes in light of everything else that's going on and by comparison to where we've been the last several years.
Absolutely. We appreciate that support. If it, you know, again, the contracted support as well as our team, rebuilding our team has been incredibly helpful, and we appreciate that. Thank you for that note.
Chair, is it appropriate to ask a question here, or should I wait to the end?
Your pleasure, please.
Okay. I have a question because I think in a couple of, there are a few times that comments have been made regarding internal hires versus external hires. Is there any procedure or time where a position has come up where internal people have not been given an opportunity to apply for that job?
Internals always provided opportunities first to apply to the job because we do post positions based on the collective bargaining agreements, and a number of those agreements do dictate or have, you know, provisions for recruiting. So internals have the opportunity to apply to positions first. They are provided preferential treatment.
So, Chair, my question is, because it's come up a couple of times, and it seems as if we're not giving opportunity. For the record, can we enter into that there is a procedure, would that be correct, for internals to have opportunities according to all of the procedures to make that well known, because it's been stated more than one time that is not the case, and I didn't think that was the case because we have very competent people, and we need to make sure that that is notated, that the internal jobs, those that are current employees have an opportunity to apply for any and every position that is appropriate for that person
That's correct.
before it is actually reviewed to the external audience.
Mm-hmm. And I will go on to say, even though positions are posted externally, if the team finds that there's an active employee that identifies on their resume that they are still active with Cook County Health, even though it's posted externally, we still will give them preferential treatment. So there's opportunities and stages throughout that posting period. Ideally, we'd like for them to definitely apply when it's posted, you know, internally, and then move on to the external hires so that we can continue to build a pipeline of external folks for the organization, but we still will provide preferential treatment. And as you can see below, 331 in terms of the external movement, that represents not only internal transfers, but also promotions. So we have a healthy, you know, respect for everyone who wants to move around within the organization. So career mobility and professional growth is really important to us, and we respect the dedication and commitment of our employees.
I believe that comment was made during personal testimonies that were given.
Right.
And if we're going to solve the problem of filling the vacancies, we need to have transparency across the board, not only just with inside of human resources, but those who are making those statements. And let's be truthful so we can solve the problem, because I think our business is helping people and getting good people that can provide that service. Sure. And everything appears to be that way, but I think we need to make it very well known to all the audiences that we are exactly doing that.
Yeah, I agree. And, Riley, maybe in a concise way, you can share how the information is shared with, how new opportunities are shared with all employees.
So we do have an applicant tracking tool. It's called Taleo. And most importantly, our employees can, one, sign up for any active posting. So once you apply as an external, you can sign up for even more jobs. So after you are employed with the organization, you can continue to have yourself on this distribution where Taleo can send you other jobs that you are most inclined to you know, be excited about. So it's a process, it's a self-service system, and we do have that in place. Positions are posted. We don't naturally publicly send announcements every time we post a position. I don't think that most organizations do that. That's not really a best practice, but it is a self-service, you know, situation where you can go to the system, sign up, and ensure that you have the opportunities to select. If you're interested in management roles or different roles, you have the opportunity to receive emails as we post new positions. Then notifications can be sent to the employees or outside candidates.
So you have a system set up for employees that if I was an employee and I wanted to do something over in garbage collection, I can go into the system and say, hey, I'm interested in this particular type job, and then I'll get an email?
You should receive an email once the garbage collection job, if we had one, was posted. You should get a notification.
So everything
if you opt in to receive those notifications.
So I am the sole determinant of if I can find that.
That is correct. You are in charge of your destiny. We don't have the ability to naturally, again, send out emails every time we post someone, because that would just probably inundate everyone within the organization.
Well, I was going to say, there's a fine balance, I think, between what the department is doing, or the system is doing, to make the opportunities aware, but then also as an individual employee to understand how to check in to that system. And I hear what you're saying, Director, and I think, you know, from what I can tell, it's taken seriously when those comments are being made.
Taken very seriously.
Yeah, by all of us.
Mm-hmm. I
mean, directors included. And I think it's good that you publicly have stated what that process is, and maybe a memo out to the system, just reminding people that it's there.
Great. Thank you for those comments. All right, next slide, please. Again, we are trending in the right direction as it relates to turnover and separations. We are definitely well below the national benchmark. We're at 6.8%. So that's a very, really sound metric. Next slide, please. Just really depicting the number of separations. So what represents that 6.8%? There's 386 individuals who have separated, again, between the time period that we've been discussing. And so in terms of FY 23, 22, and 21, we are trending lower than those other years, which is a very positive thing. We want to see a trend line that goes down on this one. Next slide.
I'm sorry, can I ask
Go
another
ahead.
question?
Sure.
I'm just thinking about what you said, how the system is set up for internal growth and promotion from within. Is that utilized as a marketing tool? Because I'm just thinking, if I want to get into the system, but you don't have the right job, maybe I'll take another job, and then I'll be in a better position to be able to get the job that I want, because I do, now I'm on the inside. Just wondering.
No, that's a really good point, and I think that, during the recruitment process, and definitely at job fairs, we have candidates who come in and they may not see the particular job that they want, but we do have support who speak with those candidates. We ask them to apply. We have a kiosk room down the hallway, and we support them with the application process so that they can, to your point, get their foot in the door, get the necessary job that they are perhaps maybe interested in, and then if there's not a really great job that they're interested in, we want them to set themselves up on that feature where they are fed those positions. So we can certainly look at how we can market it even better so that folks will understand a little bit more. But most companies have these same types of applicant tracking systems. It's nothing new. It's similar to any other process that most companies have, but I do acknowledge your feedback, and we can do a better job probably at promoting that as well.
Just coming with an outside perspective, because
No problem.
I keep my mind on the goal. We have a lot of positions to fill,
Absolutely.
and how best can we do that? That's
Absolutely.
why other questions that I think should be explored, because to be able to put more into the top of the funnel that are qualified, that'll help the process along the way. At least that's my perspective.
Agreed. And just to put that in context, I don't have my absolute facts in front of me, but we hosted a job fair on yesterday, and of course it was well attended. So, but the unfortunate thing is, again, candidates who may not, one, either see their position of interest, or two, may not meet our minimum qualifications. If we saw more candidates that had the qualifications, that possess those qualifications, then our numbers would be high. So the ratios, again, pharmacy, we had 24 individuals registered, but after all of those interviews, we netted 5 offers that were accepted. And so that's a small number. There's a small fraction. So we need to also, work towards having that larger funnel with those more qualified individuals. Nursing, the same thing. We had 30 individuals that were registered, so a total of 54 individuals registered, but 16 did not meet the minimum qualifications. And we have made some modifications to our job descriptions to really expand the minimum qualifications so that we have a wider, rich pool. But we still have some challenges to go, and we are really kind of, forensically identifying some of those barriers and attempting to decrease those barriers as well. So just wanted to share that as an example of how that funnel needs to be rich with qualified individuals to help us. So thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
I'm just curious, what were the reasons that the individuals in nursing did not meet the quote minimum qualifications in nursing if they're licensed? I'll listen to you.
Yeah, so I don't have all of the details in front of me at this moment, but definitely, if they don't meet the minimum qualifications, we are not allowed to, proceed with them, but they may meet some other minimum qualifications, so we are working to ensure that, again, we have those sessions with individuals. Yesterday's job fair was specific to the peri-op group, so it comes with some requirements so that you can definitely work to support the operating room and have some skill sets there.
You've answered my question.
Yep, absolutely. Now, we do host job fairs where new grads are welcomed, and we have a really great RN residency program, and we've been promoting that as well. So some of the areas where there's skill sets required so that we can have some capable, competent folks to step in and be prepared to jump in and help, that's where they typically don't meet the minimum qualifications. Thank you. Next slide. Turnover is represented here. I mentioned we were at 6.8%, so I won't go through the facts and figures again, but 386 individuals have separated, and you see the year-by-year comparison. Next slide, please. This is the slide that we've seen here probably the last 3 months as it relates to turnover. Pre-pandemic, that was the question at one of the previous meetings, so I've kept it in so that you can see, hopefully the trend line will continue to go down below that 6.8%, and we can hopefully get back to pre-pandemic numbers, if you will, in terms of turnover. Next slide, please. This concludes the metrics portion of the presentation. I believe at one of the previous meetings, I was asked to bring back a vendor impact report. And so, next slide, please. The vendors that have been assisting us, for the record, are Deloitte, Cross Country, and Slalom. And in the appendix, there is much more detail, but I just want to run through some of the overall impact numbers as it relates to recruiting, sourcing, technology, data, efficiency, and optimization and retention. Again, we brought these companies in so that they could support HR in terms of optimization, in terms of recruiting, in terms of all of the things that we've listed here. So next slide, please. So this is a very busy slide. I don't expect you to read it all, but most importantly, we wanted to showcase all of the great KPIs associated with each one of these categories. So hiring accelerations, I just went through the number of offers and external versus internal, the improving of hiring processes and HR processes in the middle that speaks to 11,000 plus individuals in terms of the offers, the time savings as it relates to digital automation solutions. All of these things were brought to pass by our external vendors and our supports from the BI team under Amanda Grasso, as well as our HIS team, Angelo Banyan, and her team. We've collaborated so much on how can we be more efficient and provide a much more enriched solution for visibility for managers to have access to recruiting. And so 3,700 plus views have been made on our manager dashboard, and that's simply a tool for managers to review to determine where we are with the recruitment process. Then we have 1,800 plus offers that have been tracked in our digital solutions. In the past, we were definitely tracking offers. The tool is not necessarily the best tool, which is why our external vendors have come in to help provide an overlay or a Tableau solution on some of our systems so that we can have better tracking. Our data transparency is important. And so in order to bring you metrics, it used to take us about 80 hours to secure off of these metrics prior to board meetings. And now we can click 1 or 2 buttons and receive some of this data. So we're quite excited about the efficiency and the time savings. In terms of sourcing new talent and retaining talent, we've definitely worked very hard to promote job fairs so that we can showcase Cook County Health's rich history as well as bring in new talent, external talent to the organization. So this particular slide or this particular number represents January 2023 2022 through present, we've hosted 43 job fairs in that period of time. And we've also extended recruiting bonuses for over 2,500 individuals. And then our job fair participation has been 1,700 plus attendees. So we're getting the traction that we need. Just need to funnel more qualified individuals. But I think our position is strong in the market. We are now seen as much more competitive with our recruiting bonuses as well. And so next slide, please.
Before you go to that, just one
Mhm.
quick question. The acceptance rate on offers at 80% seems pretty high. Do you have a sense of how that compares to the market?
That's actually right there in terms
Is that
of
right?
benchmark
Wow.
standards. About 80% is right where we need to be, which is why we're so proud to share that offer acceptance rate, and we will continue to monitor it because we definitely need to not spend a lot of time on just interviewing and attracting talent, but also fulfilling and closing the deal. If we had filled 185 individuals who said no to us, then our number would be much higher than the 955 at this point.
Well, it makes sense when you say we just need more candidates, more qualified candidates, because
Qualified
you get
candidates.
them, 80% of them are going to accept the job.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mhm.
You say that's the standard, 80?
About 80%
Wow.
is what I've seen in the market. Mhm.
Chair, I thought it was pretty high, actually. I thought it was excessively high.
That's why.
I don't know a lot of companies that that, not that high. That's good. That's really good.
Makes me want to go back and ask my staff.
Yeah.
Make a call, Valerie.
All right, next slide, please. Okay, in terms of candidate sourcing, you've seen a number of these recruitment promotional solutions, and if it wasn't for our capable vendors through cross-country, Slalom, and of course our internal marketing team that they have been working with under Alex Normanton, we would not have been able to produce all of what you see. So the marketing support, all of the recruitment materials to the left, that represents TikTok videos. It represents what we call Digi-Me videos. They're like short little vignettes that also highlights the positions in our organization. We have physical and digital collateral that you've seen. Every time we host a job fair, you are sent notification, as well as our Board of Commissioners and, of course, our community, so that everyone will know that we are hosting job fairs. In terms of our career site, we also improved our career site by refreshing it, and now it's mobile friendly. So you see a picture of Dr. Bina Peters there that represents our mobile entity. So we're excited about a lot of the great work that our external vendors have brought to us. To the right, it represents a lot of the activity, as I mentioned before. I won't go through all of that, but this, in the world of digital analytics, having 488 social media impressions and views, 488,000 rather, that is really significant. Again, we are reaching beyond Cook County Health as well as Chicago. These external vendors are assisting us with reaching across the state lines and having a national presence, which is really important to our organization.
I just want to remark that the consistency of how it's projected probably takes a lot of work in orienting the vendors or socializing them to the way the county wants to project. And I think it comes across really well when you're working with several vendors like that.
Absolutely, it is. But you know what? They've all done a fantastic job at conforming, and our marketing team, they've been great partners with us. And so this is a team effort, you know, and we just appreciate everyone's support. So next slide, please.
Can I ask a question?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about earlier times where I think you and CEO Rocha explained about the gap which you're missing, that certain age group, and they're the younger ones who may not have a family yet or something where they can make a lot of money at this point in time. And I think earlier today it was referred to that we are now starting to see a decline in the type of registries that are using because demand isn't as high, as starting to fall somewhat down. Correct me if I'm wrong, so that'll stop me.
Are you referring to the agency usage?
Right, the need for them, that is starting to decline. There's a negative slope.
And so we're able to attract that particular audience. I will be honest, when our agency staff comes up to HR, we have public service announcements that remind them that we have vacancies, and if they really enjoy working here as an agency nurse, we want to employ them, and so we ask them to apply. We share information with them in terms of our recruiting bonus opportunities, as well as the information on how to apply. So you're absolutely right. I think that the market in general, they're seeing a decrease in the number of agency needs with those high surges, but, we still will need some support when folks are out on leave of absences and so forth.
Right. So what I'm trying to see if there is a way to persuade them to come more, faster, because how many companies still give a pension? The railroad does, I think. But the whole point is the market is up and down. And if you pay attention just a little,
Absolutely.
you may not always want to be in the market. So this becomes a very desirable position.
It does.
And helping to explain that to those individuals may give them another data point to use in saying, do I really want to continue on this, or do I see that this train is about to end? Let me jump onto this next train that actually has a level way. I think there are some great things here, and at times I don't know, and I know there's so much to be done, but there may not always be an opportunity to accentuate some of those great qualities.
Well, I'm glad you are asking this question, because it also speaks to, we partnered with Slalom and the nursing team, and we have developed an agency nurse letter. So we got it approved through, supply chain and others to make certain that we were not stepping into non-compete clauses or anything, but we were able to also share an agency nurse welcome letter, as well as, again, more formal, concerted, paperwork to them to say, here's what we have to offer. It was a value proposition. CEO Rocha, myself, and Dr. Peters were all co-signatures on this particular personal invitation to all of the agency nurses who were currently here at that time, and then the nursing team continues to provide this information as part of their welcome, so that folks can say, they've welcomed me, we know that there's opportunities, and here's the list of opportunities. So we've been a little bit more proactive with it that way as well.
Okay, one more question along that line when you said that. And I can appreciate where staff nurses are not the happiest because someone that they're training is making 2 times as much money or whatever number. But if there could be an opportunity to try to help them understand, hey, you know how hard you're working? If we can get this person to stay, then we can ease up some of your burdens. And the fact that that person got a chance to make more money, well, that's what happens. But okay, you still have your pension and you're ahead on that point. So trying to put everything in perspective,
Absolutely.
they help them have the right attitude so that they would get on board and become a team member and say, let's build a program with a good case of nurses, a good load of nurses, I guess. I'm not sure what you want to call them, team of nurses.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that, and I think we're speaking the same language. We want, again, folks to have a welcome opportunity, and so this is one of the reasons why we have pulled together that contingent orientation process too, so that everyone who is an agency staff member can also attend a 4-hour session that gives them kind of that foundational core and acclimate them to the system, instead of them just coming in and being supported through ID badging purposes and clearance purposes through HR. We wanted to be more deliberate and also place that platform in place. So a member of our team in workforce development, our director, Janine Sergey, and her small team, as well as Deloitte's support, one of the agencies, really supported us through that process. And so now we have something that's concrete and that also not only welcomes, but also acclimates you and gets you, a little bit more involved, so that people will know what to do and how to access our system.
Here's another thought. Is it possible to have, I know we can't necessarily do monetary incentives, but can we have other incentives that say the department that gets the registry nurses to remain in place, you get this type of incentive. I used parking before, but get them to be, it becomes an incentive for them to want to really jump on board to help get these people to stay.
I would say we definitely can explore that. Some of that depends on our CBA and EPO requirements, because there are some still, they have to go through the process with our employment plan and be compliant with that plan and how they submit applications, our job fairs, and then special incentives that could be construed as compensation and go through our CBA arrangement. But I think we can definitely, and have looked at ways to be innovative to make sure that we are using everything possible to try to recruit the right team. And so we will look at how we can do that appropriately and compliantly through our services, but definitely we'll explore that.
Now, the incentives I'm saying is to the current employees.
Correct. So then
Okay.
it would be construed as compensation. So we would need to look at anything that's paid to them to look at that. And then through fairness, because our CBA and our employment plan needs, one of the elements that we want to keep true to that is that everyone has access to apply. It means everyone who wants to look at the job has a fair opportunity to apply. So there's some things we can look at, but that being said, there's always ways to make sure that we are using everything possible to recruit the right team. So we'll figure that out and come back.
Well, and I think I would add, I appreciate the comment, but I think I would also add, I think you would assess the unintentional consequences of doing something like that as well.
Yeah.
Because then you start creating behaviors that might try to solve this issue, but then create another issue that gets to unfairness, or, you know, they're using currency, for example, to get things done. And this is, I'm sure you and Jeff would take a look at it.
But we'll explore and we'll go back.
I'm just trying to find a way to get everyone
Oh, yeah.
marching to
Yeah.
the same drumbeat.
No, appreciate that, Sam, for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you. Great commentary. Okay, next slide, please. So the next slide represents some of the digital and automation work through the technology solutions. Again, the external vendors, Slalom, as well as Deloitte, have really supported opportunities for us to now have data analytics that are trackable, that are accurate in terms of the integrity of the data. And so we have tracked 1,800 plus offers in our digital solution that was, again, supported by one of the external vendors. We've generated a lot of time savings. We have now a digital and employee health services solution, and that's for all of our appointments for new hires. So in lieu of calls and waiting and missing other calls as people may call us, we now have a digital solution that will allow us to just schedule those appointments for new hires quicker. And so that's a huge time savings. In terms of tracking our interview process, we are required to have specific interview questions that speaks to fairness and consistency, and it relates to the minimum qualifications of the particular job. And so now we are tracking those interview questions. We have a data warehouse for those, and people will know which ones are approved and which ones are not approved. And so we're just trying to do things more efficiently to help our hiring managers as well as our team. And last but not least, the recruiting bonuses. There's a recruitment and retention tracker that was also devised so that myself, our chief financial officer, our budget team, not only here but also downtown, we have the visibility into this tracker so that there's full transparency. We know how many individuals have not only signed the agreement to receive the bonuses, but also we are tracking the dollar value, since we have a dollar value that we have to stick to. So real-time data, access to the system for our internal teams. But these digital solutions have helped us tremendously in terms of time savings. So I just wanted to point out the value, again, as it relates to the vendor support. Next slide, please. Data-driven decision-making, just more of the same. These dashboards that I've mentioned before. You have heard me speak about the retirement analysis dashboard. It gives me a sneak preview into what could potentially happen when individuals are at the retirement age of 55 or higher. with 30 years of accrued pension. And so I won't belabor and go into too much, but again, the recruitment metrics dashboard, which offers visibility into the manager's view. And then last but not least, you know, there's 30 plus solutions that have been brought to pass over this time period of having these external vendors from January 2022 through present. That is the value. Again, we are able to track goals, have transparency, tell the data story month by month that is, again, trackable, trended, and we are very proud to, again, be able to have these supports in place. Next slide, please.
I believe Director Sorrell has her hand raised.
Thank you. Dr. Sorrell?
Hi, thank you. And this was actually regarding your parts of your last slide and this slide, but are these additional upgrades from the current pattern, so that would address some of the concerns that were voiced at the last meeting regarding follow-up or being able to follow up with calls for HR decisions to be able to more quickly hire and onboard personnel?
So this does not represent that particular question or comment from the last meeting. We are actually working with a couple of the external vendors to explore some AI options and working directly with our HIS team so that we can come up with a tool that really can support those particular questions. This is more of how do we recruit, how have we refined it, let's track and trend if we're saving time, if it's saving, hours, and if the candidate experience is more enriched. So these things were already pretty much in place or have been put in place over the past year or so. So we are going to be working a little closer to determine how we can address everyone's calls. But I will say we do have a call tree in HR. People have the option to push a button and leave a message. I could not find any proof at this point about the previous comments, so I will continue to dig a little deeper to see where we have a blind spot there. But we recognize that those are challenges, and we want to support and respond back to everyone. Sometimes it does take us a little while to get back, but I appreciate your question.
No worries, and thanks for that clarification. I was hoping that there might be a method for upgrading or something, because you want to be able to exactly follow back with anything that was pointed out, although it may not always be evident where those areas occur or issues occur. Thanks.
Absolutely. No, thank you.
So your data-driven decision-making, by having this type of dashboard, this would allow you to evaluate your approaches or your campaigns and see if you need to switch directions and be able to do that in a timely manner versus after the fact and saying we should have done.
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head, because a number of times we wait for that feedback and it's probably too late and we've already missed an opportunity that we could possibly have impacted in a more positive manner. So this is an evolution. I think, again, this just represents that we had some infrastructural issues, bringing in the supports and, allowing them to come in with their eyes and capabilities, talent that we didn't really have necessarily on the team or not enough on the team. This additional horsepower has really enriched our capabilities of addressing some of our challenges. Next slide, please. Again, more of the same, HR time savings. As I mentioned before, a number of these things have been put in place. For efficiency's sake, I won't read everything to the right, but just to highlight a few things. We talked about 11,000 plus hours being saved with a number of the dashboards. And then in the smaller print, the next one below is 300 jobs, 300 plus jobs were benchmarked for market competitiveness. We have Deloitte, who's been working on job architecture and working with our compensation team so that we can come up with a much more enriched framework. And we want to continue to refine that process and really support all of our employees as well as new recruits to be more market competitive. Then last but not least, at the bottom, you're going to see launched Hiring Central. So what is that? We've worked with our employment plan officer who's here, Kimberly Kraft, and her team, as well as a number of the HR advisory group members to come up with some feedback that would help us create a solution where all of our recruiting materials reside. So now we've created Hiring Central. It's a landing page on our intranet site, so it's internal, and it's visible to every hiring manager within the organization so that they can have available training, resources, and the entire process in one-stop shop. In addition to that, we've come out with some more digitization as it relates to what we call an RTH, or request to hire. Most other organizations will call it a requisition or a vacancy. And so we're just trying to inform and really promote things that are more industry standard. And here's our way of saying, it's one-stop shop for you. If you can't get someone on the phone, access this. We want you to feed yourself and be self-sufficient. And so it's our way of really showcasing what we've done within the recruitment space, how we've made some modifications and refinement, and here's an opportunity for folks to have it firsthand. We are also developing an HR operating model with service delivery as well as shared governance. And so we still have a ways to go, and Deloitte is supporting us there. But the Slalom team really did a great job at supporting us with the Hiring Central model. Next slide, please. Retaining talent, you've heard so much about this already. I won't go through a whole lot, but just say we will be monitoring the number of retained employees based on the agreements 2639. That number represents the number of retention agreements that were shared with eligible employees, and so they had to meet some criteria and be in their service period in order to receive the retention bonus, and 2506 of them agreed. They signed the document. And I have a typo. That should be 138 job titles participated in the retention bonus program. Next slide, please. In the appendix is information from each one of the vendors. We won't review that, but that's for your pleasure. And that concludes my report. Any additional questions?
Very thorough, as usual. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So you had 95% of the people who actually signed the agreement?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a really strong number. Very strong number. So a number of people have been here, again, they're tenured individuals, and so we're excited about that. And the new recruits receive the recruiting bonus. So you can't get both. And so we are tracking that, which is why that recruitment and retention tracker is so imperative for us to make certain that we have all of that information documented. So we're excited about it. Thank you.
On your lunch Hiring Central, is that just for people within CCH, or
Yes.
does that extend over to downtown?
No, this is a tool that's for CCH.
Okay.
And it's on our intranet for our CCH managers. And their supports whoever is assisting them with recruiting so that they can have access to it. But we think that it's, a nice tool. And as I mentioned before, 3,700 views. So people have at least viewed it. And so we're tracking and trending to understand more about it. And we've launched it. We had our HR Advisory Committee, which represents a cross-functional group of leadership within CCH, to take a look at everything that we are doing. So we're being well informed and having real-time feedback from individuals who are actively recruiting.
Okay. The reason why I asked the question, I was trying to see if this can be used, which it can't, but to streamline the process, and again, keeping the goal in mind, is that we're trying to hire people and not have delays unnecessarily. So if a person who's, whether they be here or downtown, that is supposed to approve of an opening, the system should not grind to a halt because one person is out for whatever reason, maybe be good or bad, but there should be a way to still allow the system to keep functioning. Because if it doesn't function, then that means someone's being considered to be more important than any individual should be.
Absolutely. Well, Hiring Center does not, is not a tool that we are using, you know, for the full system, for the downtown location. But, yeah, I think that, you know, we're going to continue to work to hopefully refine some of that as well, so that when vacant positions, if it's a backfill, and there's a budget for it, you know, we can continue to work with our appropriate teams to make certain that things come back to us quickly, so we can get it reposted and filled.
Chair, I ask a lot of questions here.
I haven't noticed.
And the reason why, because although I'm not a human resources person.
No, but you're passionate.
But, well, because I saw a whole country go through this. I saw South Africa go through this in 2000.
Yeah.
Where they had to bring in people from the United States to try to help them deal with the big vacuum that they had, and I feel like this is similar to it.
Sure.
And I was actually there. That wasn't my role. I was over at the University of Cape Town, but I saw what was happening.
Sure.
And say, how do you actually do this and solve and get this problem versus by creating, you know, a chief human resources officer? Sure. Because before they used to be a director, right? But to be able to place them in a position to help the organization go strong. Because if I have a car, I can have the best car, the biggest engine, or the most efficient engine, but if I don't have the right oil in there, it'll all come to a halt.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's where I look at the human resources is the oil, because no organization is any good without the people, right? And the human resources, they're the key to it. If they don't get it right, then everything fails.
What I can add just as a review, because some of this even predates a little bit of Valerie's tenure. You know, when we started, we did have a head of human resources, but we added a head of human resources. We added an associate chief human resources officer. We created something called HR business partners. It's the best model that others have done throughout the campus because we're a very large division. And so one of the issues we were having was from our frontline users was that our one HR, we had a big team, but there was one executive, couldn't get to every division's needs. And Strozier is very big and very busy, and County Care is very big and very busy, and CERMAC is very big and very busy, and Public Health is very big and very busy, and CHN and on to our major divisions. So we've created HR business partners to help facilitate the need and processing of all HR processes to do that. We brought on Cross Country, Deloitte, and others, and Slalom to help modernize the initiatives of what we were, because when you looked at it and how we were structured, wasn't the very best and wasn't best in class for what we're trying to become. So they have helped us through that journey, as well as always been there. We've looked at modernizing our employment plan and have done a lot of things for before even doing an opportunity hiring event, a hiring fair where we would give offers the same day was unheard of or unthought of in the process. And our team has risen to the challenge to modernize even those things. We are unfortunately and fortunately, I always say it's both, a governmental entity, because people always say, well, what's good or bad? Good is we can do amazing, great things. We can open up new things. We can create vaccination centers. We can vaccinate 1 million people and coordinate delivery of another 1 million. Monkeypox comes forward. We can stand up things fast because we're a governmental enterprise. Sometimes we have some extra regulations to make sure that the people we hire meet all the criteria requirements and are honoring our employment plan and our CBAs and everything along the way. But the trade-off is you get a pension, you get probably one of the best tuition programs for nursing anywhere in the country that sits here. So there's always a little bit of both. But I would say that in the last 36 months, you have seen a big modernization of our HR department. We have more to go. I'm never going to say that we're perfect, but it has done an incredible journey from where it was to where it is, and we have more to go. And I do agree with you. It is a national crisis that we're all having as we're seeing the impacts of a lot of things happen, generational shifts, and then people wanting to work from home and more competitive offers. But I would commend that our team is working everything that we're doing through to try to get there, and really do like and are excited by your feedback that you're giving us to try to push us to be even better and more modern as we continue to enhance our HR infrastructure.
Then I think it's clear, on top of everything you just said, Israel, that the staff listens to the staff. This team listens to the staff. and listens and takes the feedback and then goes to experts in the industry that are contributing to the modernization of how you're doing this. It's clear in the data that you presented today that that's what's happening, and that you're not sitting there in a silo trying to figure out if something's going to stick on the wall, that you're actually going to different places to see, you know, what is the best practice. So that's appreciated. But, you know, joking aside, keep your questions coming, because I think they're stimulating, and it represents you as a director caring, and you're probably taking questions out of even what things that we haven't even thought about asking, but asking also things that we might be thinking about. So I appreciate that. So, okay, thank you, Valerie,
Thank you.
for all the work you and your team
Thank you, Val.
put out every
Thanks.
day. Okay, we just have one action item, and that is under item number 4A, minutes of the Human Resources Committee meeting that was held May 18th, 2023. These were approved by the board at the May meeting, but are being presented for the committee's review and discussion if necessary. Are there any corrections that need to be made to the minutes? Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept item 4A, the May 18th committee meeting minutes.
So move.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Thank you. All opposed? Okay, the motion carries. I believe the agenda is exhausted. You validate that? Okay. So can I just declare the meeting adjourned, or do we have to do much? Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Very, very enlightening and engaging
Thank you.
conversation. Appreciate it.